In a basketball game, scoring higher points has evolved from being a tactical skill to a form of art that has evolved over the years. The development of technology, training techniques, and the introduction of new rules in the game has made it easier than ever for players to score high points throughout the course of a match. However, back in the day, the most points ever scored was by the Detroit Pistons 22 years ago on December 13th, 1983, when the Detroit Pistons defeated the Denver Nuggets on triple overtime 186-184. And, in the history of the NBA, it remains the highest scoring game ever played. However, most recently this score has been almost chased, as on February 24th, 2023, Sacramento Kings defeated the LA Clippers by 176-175 points. So the question that should be asked is this a good offense or is it a good defense? Well, let's talk about this in today's video. Make sure to watch this video till the end. There are a lot of things that players are being asked to do that they have never been asked to do before. Effort and intensity on the defensive end are at an all-time low, and points seem to be easier to come by every year. Additionally, it is important to point out how gifted offensive players have become in recent years, with everyone, including superstars and role players, being able to get buckets in any way they feel like. In addition, it has contributed to the idea of positionless basketball, where players are able to perform duties outside the normal roles they are used to playing, not just the typical forward coming up to bring the ball up, but the typical point guard, taking a catch and shoot three-point shot. There was a time when most players filled a specific role when they played in the late 90s and early 2000s. Around 2015, the idea of positionless basketball took off, and most good players have taken leaps and bounds outside of their mold in order to succeed. It is also due to this era of explosive bucket getting that there has been an increase in the number of high-scoring games. Since December 2022, there have been more than 30 instances in which teams have scored at least 130 points in a single game that has taken place. While these feats were far and few between in the early 2000s, anywhere from 30 to 60 times per season, they have skyrocketed in the last 5 years, with teams exceeding the 130 mark 177 times in 2017 and 179 times in the season after that. It is apparent that NBA coaches were also noticing this change in scoring, and it is impacting the way in which they view their defensive strategies. As Magic head coach Jamal Mosley told Reynolds, "You say you're scoring enough to get where you need to be, but then defensively, if you're giving up the 120s and the 115s, that's where it becomes tough. That's 2 or 3 fewer turnovers. That's 1 more rebound. That's knocking down 1 more shot. That's taking away 1 more 3. You talk about the small gains and the small things you can do to help your defense get better. Those are the pieces." In any case, it is interesting to ask why it is so difficult back in the 90s and 80s for someone to score so much back then. Well, if we want to understand why the NBA games in the 80s and 90s were different, we need to take a closer look at the style of play that existed during that era. In those decades, the game was much more physical than it is today. Players were able to use their own bodies to impede their opponents. In turn, this led to a slower pace, with greater emphasis on defense and rebounding during the game. In addition, the hand-checking rules were much looser than they are now, meaning that it was allowed for the defenders to use their hands to try to slow down their opponents. This made it much harder for offensive players to get the basket and score points. As a matter of fact, three-point shooting in the 80s and 90s was not as common as it is today. The three-point line was introduced in 1979, but it took a while for teams to embrace it fully. During the 80s and the early 90s, there was a strong reliance put on mid-range jump shots and post-ups as a means of scoring points. Additionally, the talent level in the 80s and 90s differed. Although there were some incredible players during that era, the league was not as talented as it is today. While superstars like Michael Jordan, Magic Johnson, and Larry Bird dominated the sport, there were few players who could match their skill and ability. All of these factors combined to create a game that was much lower scoring and defensive-minded than today's NBA. It's true that some exciting games and moments occurred during that era, but the style of play was not as conducive to high scores. But for now, one of the primary reasons for the increase in scoring is the emphasis on three-point shooting. In today's game, the three-point shot is king. Teams are attempting and making more three-pointers than ever before. It's partly because the analytics revolution that has taken place in the NBA that has enabled this to happen. Today, basketball teams use data and statistics to optimize their offensive strategies, and the three-point shot has been noted as one of the most efficient shots available in the game of basketball. Moreover, the rule changes that have been implemented in recent years have also contributed to the increase in scoring. As of 2018, the NBA has enacted a new rule that limits the amount of time that a team has after an offensive rebound to reset the shot clock. Due to this, teams have been able to gain more possession and score more goals. It should be noted that the NBA has also cracked down on defensive contact and physicality, which has made it harder for defenders to impede offensive players. This has resulted in more open shots and more scoring. Also, aside from this, I believe that the increase in pace is also a contributing factor to the high-scoring games we are seeing in the NBA today. In addition, teams are playing at a faster pace than ever before, with more possessions per game than ever before. This is partly due to the fact that a greater emphasis is being placed on transition offenses. It is typical for teams to push up the ball quickly after a defensive stop or rebound in an effort to catch the defense or surprise and score easy baskets in the process. Moreover, the style of play in the NBA has also changed in recent years. Today, many teams are using a new style of basketball called a small ball, in which smaller and more versatile players are users who are capable of shooting, passing and handling the ball. The intensity of this style of play has resulted in more space on the court due to the fact that teams are often playing with 4, 5 or even 6 shooters on the floor at the same time. This creates more opportunities for three-point shots and drives to the basket, resulting in more scoring. As one of the factors contributing to the increase in scoring in the NBA, there is also the talent level of the players themselves to consider. Currently, the league is home to some of the most talented and skilled players it has ever had. There is no doubt that superstars such as LeBron James, Kevin Durant and Steph Curry have revolutionized the game with their incredible offensive abilities. In terms of scoring, these players are capable of scoring in a variety of ways, from long-range jump shots to acrobatic layups. Their talent has elevated the game and led to more high-scoring affairs. Last but not least, the NBA has become more of an entertainment-based league in recent years. It would be fair to say that the league has embraced social media and made an effort to market its star players in order to reach a younger and more diverse audience. This has led to an increase in fan engagement and interest in the league, which has in turn led to higher ratings and more revenue. With more eyes on the product, the NBA has the incentive to showcase high-scoring and exciting games that will keep fans entertained and engaged throughout the game. Overall, the NBA is currently experiencing a period of high-scoring games. A lot of things have contributed to this trend, like three-point shooting, rule changes, increased speed, changes in playing style, talent level, and entertainment focus. Although some NBA fans may miss the defensive struggles of the past, the current high-scoring nature of the game is definitely entertaining and exciting, and as the league evolves and adapts, it'll be interesting to see how scoring trends change. Well, what do you think about this? Tell us in the comments. And that's it for today's video. We hope you liked the video. Make sure to give it a thumbs up, and for more such videos, subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to press that bell icon. We'll see you in the next one. Until then, peace.